Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Pursuing You podcast. I am your host. I almost said guest. Oh, I am your host, Isabella Arias, and it's such an honor to be here. And really just the fact that God has allowed me to do this has been really sweet. I got a message from a sweet friend. Her name's Lily, and she was going through a little bit of a hard time, and she told me that she listened to our latest episode and just to see how impactful it was for her, and the fact that she was just like bawling her eyes out watching it. Like I couldn't believe it. I honestly was like, whoa, like this is actually impacting people, and I need to get more serious about it, because I think sometimes I take everyone else serious, but I don't take myself as serious, and I definitely think that God's like calling me to do that, and in like all areas, like my business, and I hope you can't really see my feet. I don't think so, but in all areas though, like my business and my clients and what I do at church and how I serve, and just literally be so intentional. Like being so intentional. I didn't even know I was going to say that, honestly. But so I'm really excited. I haven't really filmed this season that much as I want to. And two things. I think one, it's been the internship I've been doing at the church, which it has been beyond impactful. Like I cannot express enough. Like if you are located in Dallas, Texas, and you are thinking about doing an internship or getting plugged in with a church, Shoreline City is the place to be. Sorry, not sorry. It has literally just changed me in the best ways. And I love serving there, and I love our pastors, and I love everything that we get to do. I think a small part of me was a little scared to do the internship, because I think you get to see a lot of the behind the scenes. And I think if you're not part of a church with integrity, I think it can be really hard to do that. And so I'm just really glad that that was not my experience, and that it only amplified how much more I love it, and how much more it just solidified how I belong there and I want to be a part of it and everything. And so with this episode, we are going to be talking about daughtership and how to be a daughter of the house. I had been praying about what I felt like God wanted me to talk about in this episode, and I really felt like it was about a lesson that I learned as I finish off the internship, because my internship ends this upcoming Sunday. I think by the time that you listen to this, I'm hoping that we post this next Tuesday, so it'll be a couple days after Easter. And I just have just been learning how to really truly be a daughter of the house. And it's really cool, because I actually had this revelation from a sweet mentor of mine. Well, actually, no, I didn't have not a mentor. I had this from my director of the internship when we sat down and we're having coffee, and she's asking me a ton of questions. And, I think I've always been this, I'm an Enneagram 3. And if you don't know what your Enneagram is, get off this podcast right now and go take it. It's a personality test, and I honestly love it so much. Or, finish listening to this podcast and then go take your Enneagram test. I'll link it down below so you guys can have the link of the one that I use. But I'm an Enneagram 3 wing 4, which I don't know what the wing 4 means. Don't ask me, but I know that I'm an achiever. And so the achiever part in me is always asking, okay, how can I be better? How can I grow? How can I do this better? How can I do that better? And so when we were sitting down for coffee, I was asking her, like, okay, like, what can I do better? Like, how can I grow? How can I do this? And asking her all of the practical steps on how to get better. And she was like, Bella, I actually feel like God wants me to tell you that he wants you to learn how to be a daughter and how to be a daughter of this house and how to rest in him. And I was like, and I literally teared up. Like, I can't even make this up. I literally teared up because and it's not even, I think it was, how do I word that? I don't think not that I haven't known how to be a daughter. I don't, I feel like I haven't known how to rest in him. Like, knowing that he truly has everything in the palm of his hand. And it's like, I know that. And I believe that for other people, but I don't know why it was just really hard for me to hold on to that. And I think a part of it is being so independent. Like, I've just always been like, okay, I've struggled with this paradox of, okay, yeah, I know that all that I have, I'm so undeserving of it, and it's all because of God, and it's all to give him praise and glory. And then there's this other side where I'm like, yeah, but all that I have, I've worked for it all, and that is the reason that I'm here. And so I feel like I've always just, I've like been praying to God to take that, because it's pride at the end of the day, it's pride. And so I've been praying to God to take that away from me, but also the other part of like not knowing how to fully rest in him, again, comes from like being so independent and just wanting things to always go my way. And I have truly just been learning what it means to like sit in that and truly like knowing that I get to rest in him, because he literally holds the world at the palm of his hands. And there's been times where I've struggled with believing that. I've struggled with, with literally just having faith, because I'm like, God, I have no idea how I'm going to make it on the other. Like, I have no idea how I'm even going to make it through this week. Like, when I'm having such a mentally hard week, when the enemy is literally coming after me, and sometimes it's literally just me. Like, I think sometimes we do give a lot of credit to the enemy, and we hate him. I hate him so much. But I do think that a lot of the times it's like knowing that our mind is a battlefield, and we have the power to control it, and we have the power to literally rebuke all the thoughts, all the negative thoughts, and all the thoughts that literally don't come from the Lord. Like, for example, if you feel shame about your story, if you feel guilt about your story, that is not God. That is not godly. Does not come from the Lord. That is literally straight from hell. And you literally have to rebuke that. And so I think remembering that you have the power to do that, and remembering that the same spirit that rose Lazarus from the dead is the same spirit that lives within you. And I think it's so awesome when you think about it. Like, what? Like, our faith, like, it's just so amazing. So before I get all off track, so I want to read this verse as we dive right into it. And it's really cool because I've literally, the more that you read it, the more that you just like really start to believe it. And that's literally one of the points that we're going to talk about today. Like, you can't rest in God if you don't know him. You just can't. You can't rest in him if you don't know him. The same way you can't rest within a friendship, or let's just say a relationship. You can't rest in a relationship where a man has cheated on you multiple times. You know what I mean? Like, you can't rest in that because you don't know him. You can't trust him because you don't know him. And so that's one of the points that we're going to hit today. But this one verse is 1 Peter 2:9, and it says, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of the darkest night into his wonderful light." He called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Like, oh my gosh, thank you for that. Thank you for that. He did not have to do that. When I think about where I would be without his grace, I'd literally be an alcoholic. I loved smoking weed, maybe a drug dealer. I don't know. Just having, I'm not going to say an average job, but like no ambition, no goals, no anything. Like when I think about the life that I deserved, it would have been that. But God's grace, God's hand, God literally just, it's that saying where it's like God took me out of Egypt. He did. And I'm forever grateful for it. And so with that verse, I want to talk about how when you know you are chosen, you stop chasing after approval from others. And I think this is something that I have struggled with my whole life. Or I think it's something that I used to be bound to, was chasing after approval. And I think sometimes it tries to creep in different kinds of ways. But it's definitely chasing approval. And I have always desired to be chosen and to do anything I can to gain someone's approval. And I'm so glad that doesn't have a chokehold on me anymore, because it used to, and it was literally insane, like the way I wanted to be validated by men and the way I wanted to be validated by every single person I knew and liked by every single person I knew. And if someone didn't like me, I'd be like, what the heck? Why don't they like me? And it's just like, girl, first of all, why are we chasing after, I think it's been really cool how God has just been like doing a heart check within me. Like, okay, why is it that we desire a relationship? Is it because, you want to build something for the kingdom, or is it because you just want to be loved and chosen? And I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to be loved and chosen, but when you're trying to fill that, when you're trying to fill your voids with that, that's where it becomes a problem, because the only one that can fill that at the end of the day is God. And there's this verse where it says, Galatians 1:10, am I now trying to live for the approval? Okay. There's this verse where it talks about Galatians 1:10. It says, am I now trying to win the approval of others, or am I trying to win the approval of God? Because if I was trying to win the approval of others, I wouldn't be a servant of Christ. And I think that just goes to show that we shouldn't be living for others' approval, because when we live for others' approval, we end up broken, because we realize that it's just never enough. You can think that, you're crushing it and, oh my gosh, my boss said I'm doing great. Well, I'm doing great. And like, what happens when you get fired from that job? What happens when your parents say something really hurtful to you, and that, you need to get a life, and what you're chasing after is dumb, and, why are you doing this, or why are you chasing after ministry? You're going to have no money. Like all these things, you end up hurt, and you're like, okay, well, I guess I can't do this. And essentially end up missing out on the calling that God had placed on your life, because you're trying to win the approval of others. And that literally just felt like it was from the Holy Spirit. Whoa, that was crazy. And so God does not want you to do that. And so if you're doing that, I think just sit down with God and be like, okay, God, in what areas am I trying to win the approval of others from? I think also remembering that our daughtership and us being God's children isn't dependent on what we do or what we don't do. I think I have recently, not that I've been learning that for the first time, but really just like believing that in a new way. I think there's been a lot of times in my life where I've felt a lot of pressure to go serve, or to go to a conference, because God wouldn't want me to miss out on this conference. I'm going to go to the conference. And if I don't go to the conference, I'm going to be really upset. And it's just like this constant like do, but like not spending any time with Jesus, not spending any time with the Lord, not being connected to the source of life. Like, you can go serve, you can go do all the things that you think you're doing to be with God, but at the end of the day, God desires to spend one-on-one time with you. And I'm still learning that. I'm still practicing that. Like, I'm not here to say you need to go, like, this is a word for me too. Like, I sometimes it's hard. Like, it is hard. Like, let's just talk about it. It is hard to sometimes read your Bible. Right now I'm doing this the like Bible in the year, and I'm reading Genesis right now. And it is boring. Like, there are times where I'm like, this is boring. And there's other days where I'm like, this is amazing. I want to do more than, what it says to do in the day. Like, I want to read 4 more, 5 more. And so, it's so funny how it works, but that's why we do it out of discipline and not motivation. Same way you, like, if you're only going to the gym when you're motivated, you're probably only going like once or twice a week. But if you're doing it out of discipline, you're probably doing it 4 to 5 times because you're holding yourself accountable. That's how we should be with the word. Like, why is it that we don't take the word as seriously as we do other healthy routines? Something that I wrote down earlier was that lately God's been showing me that rest isn't just about slowing down. It's about returning to him. It's about remembering that I'm a daughter first. Like, remembering, I think, again, this ties it back to the Enneagram 3. I think remembering that I am only human and that Bella is literally only human, and I can want to do so many billions of things within a day, but remembering that I can't. And also, like, resting in the fact that, like, God's not looking at me, like, upset. And I honestly do think that also comes from, the way I grew up. Like, and like, not just me, and this isn't like, oh, childhood trauma. No, like, it's just, if you did something you weren't supposed to as a kid, like, you got in trouble. Or if you, I know, like, for me, if I told my mom that I was going to do something and then didn't do it, I would be in trouble. And so sometimes I think I used to look at God that way. And it's really cool because I've been reading Crazy Love by Francis Chan. He's been talking about how growing up, it was like the same way. And he used to view God in the same light. Like, if he wasn't obedient or if he had sinned, like, that clearly meant that, God was upset with him, or like there would be times where he did do everything that he needed to do, but like just knowing that he wasn't in trouble was enough. But like really taking in, like, back to the way God sees us, it's like, no, God literally loves us so much. Like, this, he could literally not love us more. And I think, like, learning how to rest in that and sit in that and literally thank God for that. Like, the fact that we are sinners, the fact that we literally do things that hurt him every single day, yet he still adores us. He still loves us beyond what we could ever think or imagine. I mean, like, literally, like, just like sitting in awe of like who he is and like, where we are. Like, I think we live in this hustle culture of like, do more, and never be satisfied where you're at. And I truly think that it is such a lot, like, it is just something that is tormenting our generation, the generations before us and the generations after us. It's like, do more, and never be, it's like America as a whole. I mean, we're never satisfied with what we have. We always want more. We always want the new trends. We always want the new shoes. We always want the new clothes. And it's like, when is it going to be enough? Like, when? And I think also, I've realized in my own life, when I don't sit down to give gratitude to God, I'm so ungrateful. And I hate that. I hate the fact that I'm ungrateful. Like, there's so many people in this world going through things worse than us. I mean, I remember I was having a conversation with my mom the other day, and I was talking to her, and something had happened with our phones, something silly, and it was a whole frustrating thing. And I was like, Mom, let's thank God that these are our problems. Let's thank God the fact that, like, these are the things that we are complaining about, and not the fact that we don't have enough food for the week, and not the fact that we don't have, I mean, I don't know, just, we sometimes get so stuck in the little tiny problems of life that we forget to give thanks and glory to God. And I think this also helps with learning how to be a daughter, because, when your dad does something for you, you're just so grateful. You're like, whoa, God, Dad, this is so sweet. Like, the fact that you thought of me. And it's like, God does that every minute of every day, whether we get to see it or we don't. Let's talk about some practical ways on how we can get to know Abba the Father better. Something that has been helping me is journaling. I think I am someone who is always like, go, go, go. And I think journaling, like, literally slows me down and reminds me that I'm where my feet are. I am where my feet are. And so being reminded of that, and like knowing that, and like sitting in that and writing out all my thoughts has been so freaking helpful. To like, obviously the word, his word, like being consistent with it every day. And like, I don't just think reading it just to read it, because if you read it just to read it, you're never going to have a revelation of like what God's trying to tell you, because he knows you're just doing it to check it off a box. But like, literally before you pray, before you read the word, pray. Ask God, ask the Holy Spirit to reveal what it is that he's trying to teach you in that moment. Ask him, be like, God, tell me, like, reveal to me in this moment. Allow the words to jump out of the pages. Like, that's how much I want for you to reveal. Like, I want to know you. Like, teach me how to know you better. Oh, and then also asking God to like, just like reveal to you what it is he wants you to know, but also asking him like, okay, God, pull the weeds out, like, and asking him to show you with grace, obviously, because he does it with grace, and knowing that you also have to take it. It's like constructive criticism. Some people love to ask for constructive criticism, but they hate when they get feedback. Don't be that person. Don't be that person. That's honestly like the worst kind of person to be, because it's like, if you didn't want to know, why'd you ask? And so let's talk about what resting looks like. As someone who has always thought that resting meant that I needed to sleep more hours. And don't get me wrong, I do love my sleep. I took a little nap before coming here today. But as someone who literally has thought that, being reminded that that's not the only way that you can rest. Like, yes, you can take a vacation and you can rest there, but like really just implementing small habits, like tweaking a couple of different things in your day that will allow you to rest better. Something that I've been doing literally when I drive is deep breaths. Being like, okay, we're going to like sit here and just, something that I was taught by this therapist actually at a conference was that when you inhale, like inhaling twice and then breathing out twice, like that will, I don't know what it is that it does, but it like calms your nervous system down essentially. Like, let's say if you have really bad anxiety, like try that. Try to see if that helps you. Okay. So, and also like, let's define rest biblically. Like, resting biblically means that you are surrendering. Like, you are surrendering, like actual surrender. Like, anyone who has been watching a couple episodes this year, like, knows that my word for this year is surrender. And so, okay, what is surrender? Literally open hands. Like, are you trying to hold on to relationships like this? You're like, okay, God, you can invade every single part of my life, but you can't invade this part. I need to have control about this part, which, if you guys don't know, I surrendered dating and traveling earlier this year. And it's been tough. Trust me, as someone who loves to travel and as someone who also loves to go on dates and loves all of that. I talked about this on my last episode, like, what is consuming you? Like, I talked about how dating was just consuming me so much. And so literally asking God, okay, God, what can I surrender? Even if it's just small steps, like, okay, can I surrender my morning routine, or can I surrender my Friday nights, or, how can I be more faithful to you? Because I think that at the end of the day, surrendering means that you are literally handing over trust to him. And you're like, God, I am entrusting you that you have this. And like, I think it also just ties in again to just what it means to be a daughter. Oh, so ways that I've been resting this season is not by just doing less. Because I think in the beginning, when I started my internship and working, and, I was like, God, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. And Crystal told me, she was like, ask God what rest is going to look like in this season. Like, if you have a season where life is about to get crazy chaotic, you don't have to feel burnt out. You can literally ask God, okay, God, what is rest going to look like in this season? Is it going to be that I'm resting when I'm with my friends, with my best friends? Does that mean, like, can I be resting that way? And for me, God, I've rested. That's literally how I've rested. I'm like, let's share a meal and, watch a movie or go on a walk and talk about our lives. And that's literally been the way how I've been resting lately. Oh, also not overcommitting to prove your worth. Like, being reminded that you don't have to say yes to that thing. Like, it's okay to say no. I am working on this right now. And you see how I didn't say struggling with this? I am actively working on this, because I overcommit a lot. And sometimes I subconsciously do it. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, like, I want to go see this friend and do all these things. And then there's like this little much for me to like, and I recharge alone. I've realized that. And I think I've always wanted to be someone that recharges with people, but at the end of the day, I need my time alone. And so, really just realizing, like, okay, am I saying yes to this because I want them to be proud of me and I want, them to notice me, or am I saying yes because I genuinely want to go and because I genuinely, care to be there? And I think, I'm working on it. Like I said, I'm working on knowing what to say yes to and what to say no to. Because I think this is definitely, it's easier said than done, Okay. I used to think fruitfulness came from doing more. Now I know it comes from staying close and being connected with God. And I think it's so true. I think I used to think that I needed to be at church 3-4 times a week in order, to gain access to heaven. And regardless if I knew that God had already died, like Jesus had already died for me, like that's the only reason I'm getting into heaven. I think always having like, okay, do more. It's not a healthy mindset to live. And I think we live in this world where we think we have to just do more all the time. And, maybe at our jobs we have to do more. And maybe, with our families we have to do more, but we don't have to do that with God. And I think there's just something so sweet about resting in that, the fact that we don't have to do more in order to prove our worth. And I also don't want to sound repetitive. So okay, there's this one last thing that I want to say. If you've been performing for God, know this. He's not after your performance. He's after your heart. You already are his daughter. Rest in your inheritance, not a reward. I think when you know whose you are and where it is you're going, your life will change radically, because you'll know that no matter what it is you gain on earth, you know where you're going. You know that God, if he wanted you somewhere, he would open up the door. If he wanted you somewhere, he would literally make a way for you to be there. And so sometimes, like, not living in the future, I've realized this has helped me so much with, like, remembering to just being where my feet are. Like, okay, let's be present today. We can think things 6 months down the road, but we have no idea what that's going to look like. And being faithful with today. I think a lot of us, we don't realize it, but we're actually living in the future. We're like, okay, well, next week I have to do this. Next month I have to do this. And we forget to be present, like, and we forget to lock eyes with people. And I think really, one, being a daughter means knowing that you know that your dad has it all in control. That's it. You know that your dad has it all in control, regardless of what it is that comes, regardless of what it is that happens. You know, there's been some February was a tough month for me. I didn't want to be celebrated. I was like, why would I be celebrated? It's my birthday, but I don't feel accomplished. I don't want to be, I'm nowhere near where I want to be in life. And thank the Lord for my sweet friends, but also just because he reminded me, like, Bella, you are so worthy of being celebrated. You're so worthy of being celebrated. And the fact that he has made us worthy, that he says we are worthy, the fact that it's just when you have that shift in perspective, and when you really get to know God's nature, especially after I have experienced a bit of church hurt. I have. And I'm so glad that I never let that turn me away from the church or from him. Because I think if I would have let, all those things that I had to walk through when I was younger turn me away from him, I mean, again, my life would be in such a different place than it is now. And even just like mentally, And so I hope this was an encouraging podcast. I'm sorry if we kind of just were a little bit all over the place, but I know that this podcast is going to be so encouraging for someone on the other side struggling with striving versus being a daughter and like sitting in that. And so I'm excited for all the other people, everyone who's going to listen to this and be impacted by it. If there's one thing I could encourage you with, is really just make time for him. The same way we can make time for our phones is the same way that we can make time for him, and also know that God is so gentle with us. He doesn't expect us to have it all together. He doesn't expect for us to know it all. And he loves us so much, and he just wants us to spend time with him. So if there's one thing I can encourage you with, let it be that. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I am going to be posting every single week from this episode on. I truly just want to be consistent, and I'm so glad that I have a lot of more time that's going to be freeing up in my schedule, that I can be consistent, and I want to pour in everything that I am and have amazing guests on, whether they're people that I look up to or people in the Christian space or just, whoever it is, I am really excited because I do think that God wants to do a lot through this podcast. And I think in the past, my heart posture just wasn't ready to do everything that God has been able to do through me. And so, yeah, I'm really excited and love y'all. Stay tuned for the next episode. Bye.